A very pleasant evening to one and all. On behalf of IEEE Podhigai Subsection, I extend a warm welcome to all the distinguished guests, IEEE members, faculty members, student members, researchers, and industry professionals who have joined us for today's monthly technical meeting on the topic Integrating AI into Public Engineering for Innovation and Faster Time to Market.
It is now my privilege to invite Dr. S. Ilangovan, Secretary IEEE Podhigai Subsection, to deliver the welcome address and formally welcome the gathering.
Thank you, Darshini. A very good evening to our distinguished chief guest, Ms. Aruna Veerappan, beloved Dr. Prashant Nair, Chair, IEEE Podhigai Subsection, esteemed IEEE Madras Section and Podhigai Subsection Execom, including Dr. Shashikala, faculty members, researchers, industry professionals, student members, and all participants joining us through the Cisco WebEx. On behalf of IEEE Podhigai Subsection, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to today's monthly technical meeting on the highly relevant and contemporary topic, integrating AI into product engineering for innovation and faster time to market. Artificial intelligence is no longer confined to research laboratories. It has become a transformative force that is redefining the way products are conceived, designed, developed, tested, optimized, and delivered. From intelligent automation and digital twins to predictive analytics and AI-assisted engineering workflows, the integration of AI into product engineering is enabling organizations to innovate faster, improve quality, reduce costs, and respond more effectively to rapidly changing the market demands. We are particularly honored to have with us Ms. Aruna Veerappan, Senior Director of Engineering, Developer Enablement at Upwork, Washington, USA, and an IEEE Senior Member particularly. With over 2 decades of global experience across organizations such as Upwork, Amazon, DocuSign, Teradata, and Infosys, she brings a wealth of knowledge in engineering, leadership, AI-driven automation, cloud-native platforms, developer productivity, and scalable product engineering practices. I'm confident that her insights will provide immense value to all the participants. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all the IEEE Podhigai Execom members for their continuous guidance and leadership in strengthening the activities of IEEE Podhigai Subsection. My appreciation extends to all the Execom members, volunteers, faculty coordinators, and student members who have contributed to organizing this technical meeting. I warmly welcome each one of you and encourage you to actively participate in the session, interact during the Q&A, and make the best use of this excellent learning opportunity. Once again, I extend a heartfelt welcome to everyone and wish the program a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ilangovan, for your warm welcome and for setting the tone for today's technical deliberation.
Now, we move to the presidential address. It's my honor to invite Dr. Prasad R. Mahir, Chair IEEE Podhigai Subsection, to address the participants and share his thoughts on the importance of AI-driven innovation in the engineering and technology.
Yeah, thank you. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, very much.
Miss Aruna Veerappan, Dr. Ilangovan, Dr. Shashikala, other esteemed my colleagues in the IEEE Podhigai section, participants, students, faculty. A very warm welcome again to our esteemed speaker, Miss Aruna. The second successive month that we have an international speaker. And so just to give you a perspective about the IEEE Podhigai subsection, this subsection was formed in 2007 under the Madras section, which is one of the largest IEEE sections in the whole world. From 2007 to 2018, it was pretty active with the jurisdiction of 12 districts in Tamil Nadu, especially the southern and the western half of Tamil Nadu. But after 2018, somehow it became very dormant. And this year rather, we have revived the activities with an excellent team of office bearers. So this is our fourth technical meeting. We had two technical meetings with national speakers and two with international speakers, and this trend is going. I think it's going great guns, and I want to again request for the collaboration and support of all the participants. And I think around 50 participants are there. They're not panelists. Again, thanks to all of you. We look forward for your support in taking this Podhigai subsection to the next level. And we'll be having activities galore in the space. I also want to thank Ms. Aruna for her collaboration and for this technical talk, which I'm sure is extremely going to be excellent and very illuminating for all the members. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, sir, Dr. Prasad R. Nahar, for an inspiring presidential remark and continued leadership to IEEE Podhigai subsection.
It is now time to introduce our distinguished resource person for the evening. I request Dr. S. Sasikala, ex-com member, IEEE Podhigai subsection, to present the brief guest introduction.
Good evening, everyone present here. It is my privilege to introduce our distinguished speaker, Ms. Aruna Veerappan, Senior Director of Engineering, Developer Enablement at Upwork, and an IEEE Senior Member. With over 23 years of experience in software engineering and technology leadership, Ms. Aruna Veerappan has built and led high-performing engineering teams across global organizations, including C.H. Robinson, DocuSign, Amazon, Teradata, iLink Digital, and Infosys. At Upwork, she drives engineering strategy for internal platforms, developer tooling, and self-service infrastructure, focusing on developer productivity, platform scalability, and AI/ML enablement across API platforms, CI/CD, and engineering operations. Her expertise spans AI-powered developer tools, generative AI, cloud-native architectures, microservices, and DevOps practices. She holds a BE in Computer Science from the University of Madras and an MBA in Operational Research from IGNOU, and is an Infosys certified technology architect. Her contributions have been recognized with several awards, including Techie of the Quarter, Bravo Award, Star Performer Award, and Outstanding Performer Award. Today, she will share her insights on AI into product engineering for innovation and faster time to market. On behalf of the organizers and all participants, I extend a warm welcome to Ms. Aruna Veerappan once again. Ma'am, we are delighted to have you with us. Welcome, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, everyone. That was awesome. As Dr. Ilangovan said, let's make this interactive. I do have presentations. I want to make sure that each one of you get a lot of insights that what we do on the floor for developing products using AI today. So feel free to stop me if you have. You don't have to reserve questions. Raise your hand and we can take the questions. I'm also from Madurai. I grew up in Tamil Nadu, so this feels very close to my home, and thank you for the invitation. So we can get started. I had shared my screen. So do you guys see that?
Yeah, visible.
Okay. So feel free to stop me whenever you're hearing a word or something that you do not understand. I want to make sure that we get the best out of the session. So we all know about AI. What is product engineering? So as the introduction said, I've been with a lot of companies for over 20 years. Yes, but I was mostly focused on product engineering. So what that means is the software engineering that deals with delivering end user products. For example, I work for DocuSign, where we built the e-sign. You send the document and then you get it signed. So we designed that. For Teradata, it was a database. It was not customer facing. It was a technical product. Right now at Upwork, it's a freelancer platform where if you, let's say you're working, we have a lot of customers from India, Bangladesh, from all over the world. If you want to do something outside of whatever you do, for example, you want to take up a short project, 1 month, 2 months, and then you're done with it, you don't need to be employed, but you just do your work and get paid. Upwork does that for you. So it's a freelancer platform. So we build that. Here I lead developer enablement, where we use engineering and tools and products to enable the developers to deliver that. So I lead a platform here. But most of the time, that career that I spent on is on delivering products facing the customer, and that is called product engineering. Over a period of time, which is 23 years, I've seen changes on how we deliver products. So I'm going to be talking about my own personal experience along with how the world was before AI and now after AI, defining each of the step in product lifecycle development. Okay, so if I'm using a word, because I come from this day in and day out, so if you're not familiar with something, please raise your hand and ask me. Okay, so we are going to talk about different phases of SDLC. The SDLC is a software development lifecycle. So first everybody has to have an idea, right? What is that product that I'm going to build? How will it satisfy the end customer? And how do we make money out of it? Of course, we are not building a nonprofit. So all of that is an idea, right? So that is why you start as a startup if you're brand new, and then you take it to VCs, you get the funding, you build it, launch it, you get your customers, and then you scale, right? So these days it has become so fast and so easy with AI, and I'll tell you how, but we're going to be talking about the ideation phase, how it looked before AI, and then now what do we do with AI. So once we have, okay, this is my idea, I want to build a freelancer platform, right? So now you have to double click on that idea, on how, what it means by building an application that caters to that idea. That we call as requirements phase. We collect all the requirements. For example, in CH Robinson, I dealt with visibility org. So where you place an order and a truck comes in, picks up that order, and then delivers to the destination. And we had it for all over the world. It's huge customer base. So what does the requirement mean for orders visibility and then shipment visibility? And for, let's say, if the truck is not making on time, so how do we assess the risk and let our customers know that, you know what, there's a 5% chance that your shipment is not going to be delivered. So they plan accordingly. So these are the requirements that we work on. And then the design could be a functional design or a technical design. Okay, and also UX design. So we will see. So once you have that written down as a requirement, which we call as product requirements document, and then we get into the functional design and technical design, then the architecture comes, like how the systems are built so that they cater to the requirements that and design that you've come up with. So once we have the architecture and all of this design in place, that is like a blueprint for development. All you have to do is break down into stories and then give to developers, and developers are just going to start coding. And once the coding is done, there is a testing component to it. Again, in waterfall model, it happens, all of these happen in like one after the other, but in agile it happens kind of a small iterative cycles. Okay, and we'll talk about that also a little bit, because that is very important when you talk about the development. The SDLC is shorter because there was a point of time in Infosys, we developed a product for almost like 7 months. It took overall 7 months. That's actually a medium-sized product. And if it is a really complex product, it takes at least 2 years. But that time today, by the time you think of an idea and build it, it's going to be like already built by somebody, or it is already irrelevant to the market. There are many startups that die because another big company has come up with a feature. So time to market is extremely important, and I'm glad that we picked up this topic today, because we are not just talking about how do we use AI in product life cycle, but also how do you do it effectively and faster so that we have the shorter time to market and you grab that market like percentage share, right? And then so testing is very important, because it's not just about just chucking out code. It is also important that you deliver with high quality and meets these requirements that you had placed. And then there is a CI/CD component in it. This is called continuous integration, continuous deployment, where once you have the coding done, you build it in an artifact, which is getting deployed on the servers in production. So that is deployment. So once it is on the servers is when everybody else can access it. Until then, you're inside the staging environment, you're in the development environment, you're in integration environment. So depending on the company size and the complexity of the work, you have different stages of going to production, and there are different validation steps. So that is also getting sped up by AI today. Okay. So once it goes to deployment, our job doesn't stop. You have to keep monitoring. So what you have to do, is there any error rate? Is the system slowing down? There are times when, yes, it is functioning, systems are running, but the customer is sitting on their website and it takes to 5 seconds to 10 seconds to get response. You don't want to sit, right? You type a text in Google and then hit enter. If it takes 10 seconds for each of the queries, would you like Google? No. So we need to make sure the systems behave well, and error rates are less, and all the performance metrics are also within the reasonable time. So we have to measure all of that, and we used to do that manually actually. There used to be dashboards we look at. There are logs that we always constantly check, but now AI is helping with that. And also, after it's gone, there is an aspect where we collect the feedback about how is the UI, how is the application being used, is actually being helpful to the end users, right? Because I might think my idea is great, but when I do all of these steps and go to production, I don't see revenue coming. I expect millions of users to come to my website, but I see only a few hundreds. What's happening, right? That's the feedback loop. So you have to give it back to the idea and then change your trajectory of what you're going to do. So I have listed down these major phases of SDLC, and every phase we're going to talk about before AI and after AI. Okay. Okay, so I wanted to understand how many of you are actually have used an AI coding tool, and if you're used for any other than coding purposes, like do you use Cloud Code, or just want to understand the AI presence here? Please speak up. It's fine.
Yes, ma'am. I have. I think the attendees can't unmute. It seems like I'm working it out.
Okay,
But
sounds good.
in chat, in chat box, people can respond.
Interact. Okay, sounds good. Because I'm sharing the screen, I can't see the. Okay, let me see. I can. Yeah. Oh, okay. Good. I can see the chat. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Feel free to respond. All right. So here I intentionally covered before 2015 and after 2026. Okay. Because before 2015 is when we did everything manually, right? So we literally wrote every single line of the product requirements document. Design is something that we get into meetings, the different level of expertise. Some are back-end engineers, some are front-end engineers, and then we design them together. Some are system engineers. So we all get into meetings. It goes for, again, weeks, sometimes even months. And then and it depends on how smart you are, sometimes how good you are with communication. There are still technical PMs, if there are multi projects involved, there are different teams involved. They all will come together, identify the dependencies, and everything was manual. But now we have AI co-pilots. I i i use AI every single day, whether it's Claude Chat or Cowork or code. I don't code anymore because I've become a leader and I don't have time to code. But my team codes most of the time in AI. So we have a co-pilot for everything. Even if I have to buy a home today, I have to ask, okay, can you assess the market and tell me if what homes next to me meet my demand, and what is the latest offer that's going on. Just use AI for everything. It's an intelligent partner that sits next to you. And then the knowledge that whatever we are gathering, it can be easily shared. I can write a document, I can write a presentation as quick as possible. It didn't need a lot of time like old days. I remember when we had customer visits to Infosys, we used to work on the customer presentations at least 3 weeks before they come, goes through multiple iterations, goes through multiple reviews. We pull in data from different resources, databases, and the user, because the user data and experience used to really make the customers happy. Now it's just few hours. So that is how AI has changed. And speed bound by judgment, review, what's worth building. So it's all about speed and quality. Again, I'm going to say all of these with a caveat that AI is not 100% autonomous today. We still need humans, right? I ask a question, it generates a document, I still have to review. If somebody writes a code without understanding what the AI is writing, that is going to cause a different problem. We'll come to that later when we talk about coding. Okay, so today this is a statistics. Okay, time to market is really much more faster. This is 88% of the organizations use AI today for delivering their business function, and 70% of product managers actually use AI to come up with an idea or requirements, and 84% of developers use coding. I, I lead developer enablement. There was a point of time when there was a timeline conflict with renewing one of the coding tool, and we still had given the basic AI models, if not Claude Opus and Claude Sonnet. We had a composer model in Cursor IDE, and that week developers were, okay, I feel like I'm back to old age. It feels like stone age. We cannot deliver, as though their hands are tied. And that is how developers are so used to using AI coding tools. So 84% is still, this is industry average. At my company, I think it's 100%. And 4 hours, I took industry average, but I think it's much more. So it saves at least 4 hours per week, per person is the average. It depends on the company, but I think for my company it should be much more significant. All right, so as we walk through these phases, okay, let's start the idea. So let's say you want to brainstorm an idea. I want to start a business, right? So what happens is, first, you have an idea, you need to understand the market. Do you have a market for that? Let's say you want to start a coffee shop, right? Next to Meenakshi Amman temple in Madurai. Will it work? Are they coffee drinkers or tea drinkers? Do they even drink coffee around that place? Or is it very spiritual that they don't even do that? That kind of a market research, right? We we used to do only manually, going to Google website, going to ask some experts who already have answers, talk around and walk around the street. So that is how it used to be. I would still encourage doing manually, but you don't have to start with zero data. That's what I'm saying. You do have every single information at your hand, readily available for you to validate. I'm not saying for you to decide, but for you to validate. Okay. And then if you're assigning somebody to do this market research because you are running the company, you can't do everything on your own. The insights live in the heads of people who actually do the research. Let's say if I have a customer representative, they interview all the customers to get more ideas on what's the next big product that we need to build. It is not shared, right? They interview and it stays within their head. It's not shared until they present it to everybody. It's not like I can sink in and get that knowledge that he or she is receiving at the time of interview itself. And then prioritization, like you walk into a meeting room and you brainstorm ideas, and we are all humans, right? If I don't talk I might have a great idea, but I don't represent well. I don't have a good communication skill, or I'm just an introvert that I don't like to talk. And there is another person with probably mediocre idea, but they have really good influence. They have really good stage presence. Their ideas usually, gets taken because everybody can see them visually presenting it well and marketing well. That is not going to happen with AI, because AI can analyze and test the ideas and give you exactly what the recommendation is. So how do you collect ideas? It knows, it has access to entire internet, and you can, if you have database of the historical data or the market research data, AI can just sweep the data and give you the insights you need. You don't even need to build a dashboard. All you have to do is give the data, this is your data source, and ask the question like how you ask a friend. And also, there's one caveat again. Sometimes you need to set the boundaries for the AI. Like, it can hallucinate, right? It sometimes, when the information is not available, it just creates that information. So we need to make sure, hey, just stick to the information that you have. Do not create any information. And so something like this, if you set boundaries, it's going to be much more accurate. So you can synthesize the data, and let's say somebody was actually interviewing the customer, you don't have to wait for them to type and send an email. You have the transcripts in the meetings that can be shared immediately, right? And you can always feed in different ideas and ask AI, hey, what is the best idea in terms of these criteria? Of course, best is not single one, right? Best in terms of revenue, best in terms of customer experience. So whatever is your criteria, you can ask it, and it'll give you. And it's generative AI is amazing when you actually talk with it and make the decision. So now you understand how the difference is. So yes, there are still manual talking, but you don't have to wait until this person comes to you for a presentation. The meeting scripts can be shared, ideated. You don't have to scavenge the data manually, like SQL queries with dashboards and looking for multiple reports. You don't have to do that. You point to the data source and you ask any question you want. It's going to give you right there, right? And it is not biased. Again, as long as you give the proper boundaries, not to be biased, not to hallucinate, it is going to stress test the ideas and give you the what is the best idea, so you don't have to be the loudest person in the room to push your ideas. So that's the difference, right? So unbiased, like sped up and immediately available to every decision maker, so that you make a decision faster and move faster. Okay, so requirements and gathering. So this I can walk you through how we do, right? So we usually in product engineering teams, you have a product manager and an engineering manager. So engineering manager is responsible for building the product, and they have engineers reporting to them. And product manager is associated with an engineering team, and they give you the requirements. Hey, this is what we are building, and they work with multiple customer facing representatives to talk to customers, collect the ideas and feedback. I'm talking about the old world. So they produce a document called product requirements document, which we call PRD. It has sections where it will tell you what is the intent of the building applications, and then step by step sequence. When a customer enters, when they log in, this is what should happen. If an error happens, this is what should happen. So they actually dictate how your application should behave in text. And there comes the UX designers. Okay, that next step is designer. So they pick this requirement and then they design the UI so that it is very easy for using and there's no confusion. Okay, so these two are, I consider them together, like requirements and the UX design, they go hand in hand. These two folks most of the time work together, UX designer and product managers. So how it happened earlier, back to back customer interviews, manually transcribed again, and then summarized, and then hours spent writing, and PRDs are handed down, from scratch. And now what we do is, again, as I said, the meetings don't have to wait until the person who interviewed is actually writing down. Like, sometimes you even lose it, right? I talk to somebody, I remember only 20-30% of what I spoke, right? we might lose details. So, but now with the AI, nothing is lost, everything is transcribed, and you can ask it to summarize and it's going to give you. So you don't have to write it down. You can completely focus on the interview. And so transcription we already saw. And you can build the requirements. Like, you don't have to start the document from line one. All you have to do is tell it, I need to write a product requirements document that specifies this flow, that flow, and it needs to be end to end without ask me questions. If you don't understand, you can tell AI to ask questions. I sometimes tell Claude, when I give input, it just gives me a paragraph of something even before I ask a question, because I just keep feeding the input. I tell it, please don't consume my tokens, be frugal with that. Then it states okay and stops being that verbose. So you can instruct it. So natural language queries over dashboards, again, you can get insights, you point to the right data source, and you can derive the requirements from it. You feed in the data, right? Like, you don't even have to like point to the data source. Sometimes you just feed in the meeting notes what the customers have said. It picks up from there, and it also has competitor data, market analysis, and entire knowledge of internet, pros and cons. So it can put together something. If I say I'm building Snowflake, make it competitive like Teradata, it can, because it understands what I did. There are public websites. So, and it can assess, oh, you have this feature, but you do not have this feature. It could be a critical aspect for a customer to choose, and you might lose. So those kind of insights, definitely AI can come and share. Okay, so this has become super fast in coming up with the requirements. Ideation, we already spoke, and now it is written in such a way that our developers can easily understand and track back against. Okay, this is what I was talking about. The product manager and the UX designers go hand in hand. We call this as UX mocks. So you see a website, right? So usually there'll be a picture that's designed like pixel by pixel. I need a text box here. I need let's say if you take a Google search page, right? It'll tell you I need this text, I need this box, and then once I click on a button, then you send the results, and the results should have a title, a small description. On clicking, it has to go to the actual page at a high level, right? So that is how they design the UX. I can see how the page is going to look like. And when I was a developer, I was mostly a front-end developer. I used to design the pages like pixel by pixel. We used to call a pixel scale, which will tell you if I designed it pixel by pixel. If they say text box should be, let's say, 50 pixels, then I measure if it is 50 pixels. And if they actually give you a color code, so the colors that you see here, even in here, every color has a 6-digit code. It's a hexadecimal code. And that is how they give us, the UX designers give us, this button is this color code. How do I know what exactly is that? I can add the color code, but if I don't have the color code, I used to have a color picker, so that I point the tool and it'll give you my hex code, and then I use that exactly for building the website. So all of these are not there today. Imagine how much time it takes for me to do that pixel by pixel measurement, identifying if I use the right color, I use the right padding, right margins, and all of that. So now all I have to use is, okay, this is as a developer. So you feed in this mark, it can give you the actual website right away. So before AI, wireframes, the mock I said, that the word is called wireframe. We get that as we can visually see how the website is going to look like. And then everything was designed manually. It goes through multiple rounds. We stress test it. But now we don't even have to work with wireframes. So wireframes are like images. It will show you the button, but you can't click on the button. So sometimes what happens is I will get the requirements, and sometimes it has a drop down on top, a button at the bottom. When I actually interact with the drop down that has a lot of items, maybe the designer didn't think about the number of items in the drop down. Okay, maybe they just thought, okay, I need a drop down, and that's it. When I work with the actual UI, sometimes it just blocks the entire page because I clicked on it and just drops down. So I didn't visualize at that point. When I actually interact with that component, it's going to look different. There are some you know user UX related issues that might come up. But again, these days we don't use wireframes. You ask, you feed in the requirement, it can give you a prototype. So what do you mean by prototype? It is not a full functioning application, but you will have a website, a skeleton of the website where you can actually interact and then see. It's way better. Like sometimes you go back to the customer, we call it UX research. Okay, so the idea of UX research is I gather the I've spoken with the customers, I know what they want, I have written down the requirements, and now based on the requirements, I'm designing, this is how my website is going to look like, or my product is going to look like. Now, how do I know that idea has been transformed into this functional unit? So sometimes we go back to the customer asking, hey, this is how we are planning to implement the idea. This is option one, and this is option two. How do you think this is working? Before even we write a single line of code, because coding is a very, very costly phase of the SDLC. Your developers are costly, and the time they spend in writing code, now AI is writing. At that time it was very costly because you have to write every single line of code by hand. So before we even write the single line of code, we go and ask customers, this is how the website is going to come, this is how you will experience it. It serves two purposes. They give yes, this is exactly what I wanted, this will be helpful. Then it goes to the development. Sometimes they say, oh, this is not what I wanted, this will not work for me. So this saves the time. Imagine I have put that UX across, like I through an entire SDLC cycle, entire development, and then I take it to the customer and they say, oh, I don't like it. The entire coding that we did have to be rewritten. So that wastes a lot of money and effort and time. So we avoid that by going to the customers and showing this is what we are going to build even before we build it. And so we used to take those mock-ups and wireframes. Now you can actually walk them through the prototype and they have a better idea now, and they can give much more effective feedback, so you don't end up building something that is not going to be useful for them. Okay, and the best part is product managers don't even need developers to build this prototype. There is something called vibe coding you all must be aware of. So you just have to say, and it generates code. And this part, I would say, product managers don't need to understand the code it's writing. All they have to do is the product looking like what they had in mind? And then they can take the customers and get the feedback right away. So there is a difference, right? Yes, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but the actual working product is much better than an image itself. Okay, because you can interact, you get to experience much more, right? So that's what AI does for us today. In just few minutes you will have a prototype, as long as you have the requirements document done, which used to take days for building. Okay, and now comes the technical aspects. So what there are system architectures, there are functional architectures. So this is where we do let's say 3-tier architecture that we used to have, like a front end, back end, database, right? It is still the same, but the things are a little bit different with cloud. Most of the components are in cloud these days, whether it's GCP, AWS, Azure. So we used to run everything on-prem earlier, but cloud has become a norm. For last 10 years, it's been the norm. That's because when I have an on-prem system, let's say I live in India, my system is in India, and if the user is from Australia or America, if the network, the payloads, the data has to travel across the world through those fiber optics to reach the destination, right? So now in cloud, what we do is we deploy to one place, and they have replicas from all over the world. So if your customer base is mostly America, then you have a server that's syncing up with your deployment. It sends a copy of the artifact that you send across different parts of the world. So you can configure it. I want the artifacts go to certain specific area of the world, or even the as part of the DR, disaster recovery, I can even decide a continent. yes, my customers are Asia based, so entire, like it could be in China, Japan, so you have different servers around that. But I want a disaster recovery system in Europe, so if there's a war or something in Asia, then I still have data backed up in Europe. So you can configure all of these in cloud, because the data centers are really that's a physical part, right? If something happens to the data center, I still need to have some backup from elsewhere in the world. So, and if I have to do that by myself, investing in hardware, investing in replicas, investing in disaster recovery, it's going to take a lot of time and money to do this. But cloud providers do it at a cheaper cost, and it's very easy to configure. So you can think only about what you're building. Okay, so that's where the architecture and technical planning comes. So we talked about the UI. We call it as the front end of the application, where that's where the customer interacts with the application. But not all the logic happens on the front end. Okay, so we have APIs, and then we have there are multiple, I'm skipping different layers. Okay, so there are various layers. There is a gateway, and then the APIs, and then we have all these services, then we have the database, and there are multiple databases if you build a very complex systems for different purposes. For logging, you will have Elasticsearch. For main application, you could use MongoDB. Or if you just want a relational database, and you have Postgres, MySQL, so different type of databases, and they all go together for different purposes, because they're pretty good at certain areas of the application. If I want to do a search, Elasticsearch is great than RDBMS, so we do have Elasticsearch. Okay, so all of this is what is called architecting. So what is the technology I'm using for front end? What is the technology I'm using? How are they stacking up? How are the systems interacting with each other? For example, I was talking about at CH Robinson, I managed orders and shipments. How do that order service interact with the shipment service? Of course, I need to ship based on the order I've received. So they both need to interact. So from the requirement, we need to define the components, and also we need to define how each component interacts with each other. Okay, so that is the architecture. Again, now you don't have to do that manually. I remember we used to go into meeting rooms and come up with a first high level diagram, and then there's a detailed diagram. There used to be a sequence diagram. There used to be like 100 200 pages, and then we review with multiple stakeholders. It used to take, like, if it's a complex product, then it used to take a few months. Okay, so out of that 8 months to 2 years I was talking about, this phase itself was around 2 to 3 months in my experience earlier. And now again, go ahead.
Aruna,
Yes.
I'm sorry, maybe another 10 to 15 minutes, another 10 minutes.
Yes. Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going
Sorry
fast.
for interrupting you.
Oh, no worries at all.
But
Please.
it's quite interesting. Each and every phase you're explaining, it is a lot of new insights we are getting.
Thank you. Yeah, feel free to ask me
Yeah,
any questions and interact. Okay.
yeah. Few questions are there in the chat. Once you complete it, I'll make it.
Go ahead. All right.
Yeah.
So here, if I give them the components, you can come up with the component design. You can also come up with how they want to interact. All you have to do is you you have the requirement, you have the UX, so it can design the components interactions. And now you have MCP servers. You MCP is a language of LLMs to connect with different systems. Okay, so it can work with all of these systems, understand the language of each of these, and then give you a blueprint of how they have to work. And another one is dependency mapping. One system is dependent on another. For example, shipping is dependent on the order, right? So those kind of mapping can be given by AI, and can also flag the risks before a design review, not after. Coding is something that everybody talks about. So we spoke about vibe coding. Right, I can see my developers just firing the command. They have multiple repos as a context. Again, AI can work only with a context, right? So if you can answer a question only from the book you read, so context is like the book you read, and the questions are the insights that you derive out of it, the inference, right? So coding, pretty much everybody uses. We have different IDs available. You have Claude Code, Cursor, Codex. There's extreme competition among all of these AI companies to target the coding phase of the SDLC much more than any other phase. Okay, so as I said, 84% of the developers use AI tools to do that. And then I remember when I was a developer, it sometimes even takes days to set up the code base. Because if the document, I join Amazon, oh, it's Amazon, right? Everything should be flashy and new technology and everything should be spot on. No, it was surprising that they still had a lot of legacy code. The documentations, Amazon is known for its documentation, and still sometimes documentations get stale. So you're at a step and then you're
Ma'am, in this, it is mentioned as controlled study. N is equal to 4,800, right?
yes.
What does that mean? Is that number of that is how it has been communicated with this?
I see. So this number 84% is a sample they've collected. Like out of 4,800 people they've studied, 84% of them were known to use coding tools.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just a number that, because I said it's an industry standard, it's collected with this sample.
I thought
Okay.
something based on this number n is equal to 4,800. The task, the amount of time it is reduced. Is it so?
I will show you the amount of time reduced in the next. Yes, 1 hour 11 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Within the sample,
Yeah.
this is 4,800 sample. So what used to take 2 hours
This
40
is
minutes
sample.
is already,
Got it.
yeah,
Mm.
sample size, which is reduced to 1 hour
Okay.
11 minutes. AI programming, right? So it's just to give you on the side by side with AI and without AI. In fact, it's
Yeah.
getting much
Correct.
faster. Yeah, it's getting much faster. I'll tell you why. Because the coding tools are getting much more smarter. More and more better models are coming. If you guys know, there was Claude Sonnet, and then Claude Opus, and then Claude Fable. Fable again is very good with analysis. Opus is very good with analysis. So as the models are becoming greater, the time saved is actually much more better. You're talking about almost 3 hours to 1 hour 15 minutes here, right? Which is even like going faster. You can 4 hours of work can be done in 1 hour now if you're effective with the prompting. We should talk about prompting too. That's the crux of how you work with AI. And then I'm coming to testing. So those days we used to have development team and testing team. So I develop my code, I push it, we send the message to testers, and then they test, they write the tests in the Excel sheet, they mark it as pass or fail, and then we as developers used to go look at them, oh, there's a failure, and then go fix it, send it again, and then the testing happens until all the test cases pass. That is how testing used to happen. But now, first of all, it's automated. Okay, we have unit tests, integration tests, all of them. You can write scripts, Selenium scripts, and all of that. So you don't have to manually sit and click on every single button to do that. You do that once, and then you just run it over and over. And we run that test in different stages of the life cycle. As I was talking about going to production, right? So you run this test, making sure that it works well in all the environments, because there's a variable. Usually it's a local environment, it's different from staging environment, integration environment. So you have to make sure everything integrates well before you go to production. But now AI comes into picture. It writes its own unit test. It writes its integration test, and it tests and identifies the risks of execution. For example, if you're shipping a piece of code, it can identify and tell you what is the risk that might happen when you push to production, what could fail. It can predict first, and not just predict, it can also suggest options to fix it. Okay, so it has become much more easier for testing the application. Right now, we don't have any QE teams anymore. We let go of so many QE teams in my past company, DocuSign, and even at Upwork. So it's developers who are writing code and writing tests with the help of AI today. And then I'll talk about much more detail when we come to deployment and release. So deployment is when you have developed, you create an artifact, and then you distribute it. There used to be a manual person, like sit and click the button to release, but we don't have to do that. They are automated now. Like there is no, your system is going down for 2 hours, then you're pushing the code anymore. We have continuous integration. So as soon as you commit a PR, it goes to production. So you don't have to worry about the tests are automatically run, right? And here, as I said, we have something called selective test run. Okay, so we measure as an engineering manager, I measure there are 4 different metrics, which we call DORA metrics. I'm not sure if you're familiar with DORA. So we track how long does it take to go to production, and we want to make it faster. If it takes more than 2 hours, then we are not happy with it. We want to bring it under, let's say, 20 minutes. So that cycle is very important. That means I don't have to run an entire suite of tests at each phase. What if I write a single line of code and I push? Without AI, it runs still those 1,000 test cases, even if you change single line of code. But with AI, it can tell you this line of code affects only these 20 test cases, and I'm going to run only 20. What that does to you, the time to go to production is much more faster. Okay. And then it can watch the systems. We have something called on calls. I'll come to that later, which comes in the next phase. So there also we use AI. And pretty much the predictive cycles I was talking about, it can detect the test that needs to be run, it can detect the risks, and it can also propose the solutions. So developer need not think about, oh, what's going on. Then of course you are taking a suggestion, but end of day, as a human, you need to verify the suggestions given by AI. And this is the like 2 more steps are there. This is post deployment. Once the deployment is done, we have to, as I said, we have to watch the system for errors, watch the system for slowness. And here we have these DevOps agents. We call it AWS has one. We recent integrated one. What happens is, if you set the thresholds, I want the website to be responding within 2 seconds. Okay, but I'm seeing that it's taking more than 5 seconds. These agents automatically kick in. They start without a human intervention. I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night. I used to, even in Amazon, I used to get up in the middle of the night if something like that happens. I used to get pages, wake up, see what's going on, fix it, and go back to bed. Now I don't have to do that. So now the agent wakes up, it identifies what the problem, it scans, and then it automatically fixes sometimes. Okay, and then it's called self-healing systems. It fixes up only in the cases where it cannot be fixed, then we still get paged, but it has brought down the number of incidents that happen in production that needs a human intervention. All right, so this one, feedback analysis and continuous improvement. So this is the feedback loop I was talking about that we have built, and now I need to know if the website is working, product is working. There are multiple ways of doing it. Your application can track the clicks and everything, and then maybe if you have given a feedback text box, hey, what do you think about it? It automatically can analyze and then give you suggestions. Say this user is not liking it, or you can do a demographic study. Maybe young people are liking your website but not the old one, depending on that, then you can adjust it for the certain demography, or you can adjust the system for slowness. So this feedback loop again can be fed back into the AI, and AI can suggest you what can be done better, and then you can take that suggestion, go all the way around, right? Like at every stage. So this is the full cycle. So I want to talk about this one. This is what now what used to take 9 to 12 months is now 10 to 14 weeks. And I'm not kidding. This is true. We deliver much faster, and this is also important, right? Because time to market is extremely crucial to get there. Okay, AWS came first, and we still have a lot more of AWS customers than Azure. So whoever goes first to the market have a really good handle on who gets the biggest market share. Um, I just wanted to end with one caveat, though. I'm not going to talk about adoption roadmap. That's fine. So AI is still something that we humans have to verify. There are shifts. There's one more challenge that comes with it. Developers are chucking out thousands and thousands of lines of code these days, but the review effort has become a bottleneck. Now we are using AI for review too. So we are trying to automate everything using AI, and with the assumption that there is a human verifying every single thing. We don't blindly push it. Okay. And for even the critical incidents I was talking about, yes, it can auto heal only if it is not a critical incident. Then a human is definitely involved in to make a judgment whether it is good or not. So overall, I spoke about how the systems were before AI and then after AI, my personal experiences. But feel free to ask me even after this session. Ping me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. I'm happy to help. Thank you, everyone.
That was a wonderful session, Aruna. So I have few questions in the chat box.
Please.
First of all, we'll finish off that, then we will with the other stuffs.
Sure.
Ma'am, what are the key challenges of applying AI in production engineering? Also, when should AI not be used in production engineering?
Yes. So the first one, I'll talk about my practical challenges. Okay, when we introduced AI to developers earlier, um, mm, there were two challenges. First one was adoption challenge. They didn't want to use AI. They thought they were going to lose the job. Okay, that was the fear everybody had. We had to make sure that no, that you're not going to lose your job. This is just to enhance the way you do your job. So it took some time to
Correct.
change the way engineers and product managers thought about adoption with AI. That we have crossed that phase. Now everybody knows that, without it you're way behind and you got to be there. If you don't use AI, you're not going to deliver faster. And then when should AI not be used in production engineering? I would say don't trust AI completely because it can still hallucinate, right? Not be used any of the critical decisions. Use AI, but verify. Okay. We call it like a kill switch. You should always have a kill switch at the end if something happens and it's not behaving well, because it can hallucinate, right? And you don't control that. So you have to have a manual intervention everywhere. So I would do a caution that anything critical, anything that needs human intervention, make sure that you click that push button to go. And you always have a kill switch at the end, if you to turn off AI related stuff and go human too, if possible. So those are the two areas where it's customer sensitive, emotion sensitive. It's again, there are different types of application. Wherever sensitivity is more, I would say use AI, but verify by a human. Yes, next one. Did I answer the question?
Yeah. Yeah, very well. Actually, that's correct. Actually, if you completely rely on AI and vibe coding, we'll be into trouble. Somewhere a lot of bugs are there.
Yes.
So probably AI has to increase its own efficiency. We believe that it will slowly improve. Even anything, the critical thinking, only human brain can do it. That is
Yes.
what I also feel.
Yes.
Previous question was with by Senthil Kumar. The next question is from Akash. Ma'am, how can I reduce product development time while maintaining product quality and reliability? I think you have given a
Yeah.
detailed thing in that. Anyway,
Yeah.
each and every stage of software development life cycle, you have explained it, how it is the reliability without compromising reliability, we have made the quality better and the time is reduced.
Correct. This
Yeah.
is the entire
So,
session.
yes. The next one is from Manish. Ma'am, what are the biggest challenges company face when implementing AI into existing engineering workflows?
That's a beautiful question because, if you're building a new workflow, definitely you can, build it with AI and it's pretty good. We call it like greenfield applications. But with existing workflows, it's a little bit of challenge because there's a lot of legacy code. There is a well built in process that is in place. Uh, there are blind spots for AI as well. If you're not carefully instructing it, if you're not giving the right set of information, but once it is given the right set of data and inference is really great. But you are right. Working with the greenfield project with AI is much more easier than working with legacy, but it's not impossible. Okay, you just have to train it. You just have to feed the data because it has like historical data. Like some of them are archived, and it doesn't come with the full context. That's the challenge of using AI with an engineering process that already exists with the workflows. So if you take time to do that, then it's well and great, but many companies don't want to do that. They just want to scrap the existing if it's legacy, and then move on with the new way of building it. But if it is relatively new and you still want to embed AI in it, the best way to go about is feeding in all the necessary information for the AI and then go from there. So whatever works best for you. Thanks.
Yeah, that's great. One, it's not a question. Can we get the PPT after the talk? One
Oh,
of the,
definitely.
yeah. So if you share it to me, then I'll share it to all the participants.
Sure, I'll do
I
that.
have the mail IDs of all of them.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah. If that is not an issue, then you can share it to me.
Yes, this presentation I prepared only for you guys. I never used it anywhere else, and I'm not going to use it. So this is dedicated for you. I'll share it.
That, that's really great. That's really great. So that is all the questions available in the chat. One question from my side. Actually, you have fantabulously explained each and every stage, all the 9 stages of software development life cycle, how it is really reduced. So normally one thing we will have, the thinking ability of the upcoming students or upcoming engineers. Will it be going to be a real challenge because of this AI? Normally, when we used to tell to our students that whenever a sapling is taken care of, everything means the soil moisture is taken care by the recent IoT devices and other things, but the fruit, whatever we are getting in that sapling, will not be so nutritious. If the root it goes on itself and got all the nutritious values from the soil, the fruit which is coming out of that will be really good. So will that be happen in with this AI and vibe coding? People cannot have the clear learning part. As a faculty member, as a teaching faculty, we have this thing.
Dr. Ilangovan, that question was amazing because it depends on how you use it. Okay. So I can be somebody who just wants to wipe code without understanding and then keep putting bugs in it. And then end of day, after a year, I can't manage it anymore. That's one way of doing it. But the right way of doing it is AI is a very smart tool. You have to use it as a tool. It's not a replacement for you. You need to understand what the AI is generating, producing, you validate every single thing. So it's like having like a bunch of smart friends around you where they enhance your knowledge rather than depleting them. So it highly depends on how you want to use the tool. For me, I want to use it like a smart friend. I would ask a question, so that makes me think. It makes me much more creative. It makes me much more aware of what's existing around. It gives me the necessary tools. I don't have to sit with Google to ask question, but I can ask the AI to give me the information so I can decide. That's where the difference is. So I'm still thinking, I'm still asking, I'm using AI only to do the chores for me, but the intelligent part stays with me. As long as I do that, I think AI is a very smart companion for me. But if you delegate everything, you don't understand what the AI is generating, that's a different one. That's why any technology, not just AI, any technology in the history, it highly depends on what we are using it for. It could be used in a way that it depletes your intelligence and humanity. On the other hand, it can be used also for elevating what we have, and AI should be elevating you as a personality. It should give you the world knowledge that's necessary for you to make smart decisions, but you cannot completely just blindly accept whatever AI is. So I feel much more smarter when I talk to AI, because it gives me different perspectives, even to deal with my household stuff. And if there's a problem, I just say, if something symptom comes, what is it? So I'm more informed when I go to doctor. Sometimes, ask the right questions, they get surprised. So it makes me smart, because that's why I use it. It depends on how you use it. Yes, thanks, Elena.
Yeah. Another question. How does AI impact our lives? I'll
I
read
think
out
Ms.
all the
Aruna
three
will reply.
questions. Three questions. How does AI impact our lives was one question. And second question is, could you please comment on the hallucination that you have seen and also fatigue?
Sure.
And the third one is, when hiring, how are you measuring the candidate's AI usage ability?
Okay.
These
Beautiful
three
question.
questions are there.
Beautiful questions. How does AI impact our lives? It has impacted us in every aspect. Every aspect, I would say. If I have to go on a vacation, I ask AI, give me a travel plan. It gives me an amazing plan, like the places to go. I tell the constraints. I have to be there for 2 days, 1 day resting. Give me the plan. At product engineering, day in and day out, I told about every single thing. I mean, there are a lot of things we do outside of this: marketing, sales, and everything AI, right? It makes us faster. So I would say there's not even a single place that's not impacted by AI today. So going to the next question, hallucination is an attribute of these LLMs, where they fill in the gaps with something that they don't have a concrete answer for. I can give you one example. We built a docugen agent. Okay, so it generates a documentation for the code. So developers, when they write code, they don't write documentation. So we had a agent doing it. So what happened was, it chunks the code into different pieces and then writes the document. Okay, put them together. But when a GitHub repo was not available, it started to assume a lot of things and create the whole documentation. So finally, when we shared with the actual developer, hey, we think this is your documentation of your code, the first few phases were, oh my God, this is just some kind of a creative story it has written. So that is hallucination, right? You can configure the LLMs not to create content if it doesn't have a data that's supporting it. So you can control the hallucination index. If you see more hallucination, it means it's going to get more creative. And in certain cases, we don't want that to be creative. We want that to be deterministic, as deterministic as possible. So yeah, we play with that. But if you want to write a story, a wild story that you want to, like humans cannot even think of, give it a creative index, or go hallucinate and be creative. It's fine. Then it'll give you with like wild ideas. So it depends on what you want to do. But in product engineering, we make sure that hallucination index is low. And then when hiring, how are you measuring the candidate AI usage ability? I haven't taken recent interviews, but I'll tell you a very serious problem that we have today. I'm not sure if you guys know about it. People fake interviews. I was next to a developer who actually did not attend interview. He had someone else attend the interview. Okay, so I caught him because he didn't really work. So things like that. There is deep fake, and few technologies where people are actually not attending interviews, someone else is attending and with the face of the interviewer. So we are trying to detect those. But if you want to like assess their AI skills, I don't think it's part of interviews yet. We do ask questions, what tools do you use? But we don't have any hands-on. But I think we should have some hands-on um, tools given as part of the interview. I don't think we are there yet. But we do talk about the AI usage and the ability and what models they've used, what is the benefit right now. but it could be different in other companies though. Yep. Is that all,
That's true.
Doctor? Yeah.
Yeah, that is all. That is all. So that was wonderful. The thing is, the last 2, 3 questions were really good questions, and we've got really good insights in that same. So thank you so much, Aruna, for a wonderful session. Sorry, we have disturbed you in the early morning.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And this is a mistake. I had my alarm
Oh,
set,
no,
and
no, no,
it's just
not an issue, not an issue. No, no, we have got a lot of information. That is why we don't want to miss you.
thank you.
Okay. Uh, Livia, just a minute. I'll share a small digital memento which I have made for Aruna. I'll just share it. So thank you so much, Aruna,
Oh
for
my
your
God, this
wonderful
is so
presence here.
good. Thank you
Excellent.
so much. Can I take a screenshot of this, or you guys? I can post it on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Please,
Okay.
please, please. We'll be happy around about it.
Thank you. This is beautiful. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I think we can continue with the regular agenda, Livia and Darshini.
Thank you, Ms. Aruna Veerappan, for the highly insightful and provoking session. Your valuable perspectives on integrating AI across the product engineering lifecycle, leveraging intelligent automation, and accelerating innovation have currently enriched all the participants. Thank you, ma'am. And I also thank all the participants for your enthusiastic interaction and thoughtful questions. We also request everyone to kindly submit your feedback through the link that will be shared in the chat window. Your feedback is valuable for organizing future IEEE technical activities. And also, we come to the close of this enriching technical meeting.
Thank you.
And also,
I
we
want
come
to
to
say
the
just
close of this enriching technical meeting. It's
I think her
almost done.
her network is into trouble. Anyway, I'll go with the formal vote of thanks. A very good evening to everyone. It's my pleasant privilege to propose vote of thanks for this enriching IEEE Podhigai Subsection monthly technical meeting. First and foremost, I express our sincere and heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished chief guest and resource person, Aruna Veerappan, Senior Director of Engineering, Developer Enablement, Upwork, Washington, USA. Thank you, ma'am, for delivering an exceptionally insightful session on integrating AI into product engineering for innovation and faster time to market. So really each and every phase of that faster time to market, in each and every phase, how much we are saving the time, it was wonderfully explained. Your practical perspectives of AI-enabled engineering, intelligent automation, developer productivity, and innovation-driven product development have greatly benefited all the participants. You have explained all the processes like requirement gathering, right from requirement gathering and analysis, UI UX design, kind of development, coding, testing, particularly testing and deployment, post deployment. This all really we have not heard so far. So thanks a lot for all those things. I extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Prashant Nair, Chairman of IEEE Podhigai Subsection, for his inspiring presidential address and for his continuous encouragement and leadership in promoting meaningful IEEE professional activities. I would like to thank all the IEEE Execom members of Podhigai Subsection for their wonderful support in each and every event we are organizing. So my special appreciation goes to the MOC desk. So people have managed the show very well. I thank all the IEEE members, faculty participants, researchers, industry professionals, and students who joined the session and actively participated in the interaction and feedback progress. Your enthusiastic participation is true strength of all our IEEE activities. We always say volunteering and networking is the blood and flesh of IEEE. So I need more amount of networking. So you have to bring in a lot of other participants. You have to cascade these informations to other thing, and so that a lot of participants can get their benefit. They'll get benefited. Let us continue all to collaborate